you are about as relevant as anyone going out of their way just to be nosy. You hear all that? Probably. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Oh yeah, actually when I tried that with my own arm, it didn't look like it would hurt that bad. In such a bizarre world where everyone loves their SUVs and crossovers, why not take advantage and use this opportunity to take a closer look at one of the most common vehicles found on the road, especially if you live up north near the Rocky Mountains. Right behind me in the sheet metal is a 2024 Mazda CX-50, which was provided by the homie, the OG Terrell. Yes, the same Terrell who recommended a complete engine coolant flush on my F-150. This is his rental car that he's had for quite some time, and I know what you're thinking, 2024, that's still kind of a new car. Just work with me a little bit, all right? All right, so you already know immediately under the hood, but as you can expect, not necessarily storytime reliability, just straight fact. For the 2024 model year, at least for the CX-50, you had a 2.5 naturally aspirated four-cylinder, which put out about 186 horsepower and 187 pound-feet of torque, which is kind of weird. You don't really see one digit of improvement when it comes to horsepower and torque. Or you had a turbocharged version, which was essentially the same 2.5. They called it the dual scroll turbo. 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. This one, as you can tell, obviously just by looking at it, there is no turbochargers or nothing like that. This is your naturally aspirated, which is most likely the one I would shoot for if I was still into new cars. Naturally aspirated power just feels in your spine much better than turbocharged and all that supercharged stuff. It's just long-term reliability, if anybody even cares about that anymore these days. Definitely the way to go. I'm not gonna harp on the exterior styling of these newer vehicles, these Mazdas for that matter. They do look really good, but I've mentioned this in one of my previous videos. I find it funny how it's pretty obvious these engineers are kind of running out of ideas when it comes to exterior styling. If it wasn't obvious enough, the Mazdas all look the same, the Lexuses all look the same, the Toyotas all look the same. It's just kind of funny to me. It's like, wow, they're kind of really stretching out every exterior styling trait they can, like this famous Mazda brow right here. Even though it's usually chrome, this one is black to match the black theme, the black wheels of this particular Mazda model. But either way, it's still a great looking car overall. I'm not downplaying the look of this car at all. But a really cool trait that you Mazda owners get to enjoy are your turn signals. Look how these operate, if you can even see it. I know it's bright outside and the camera may not be able to pick it up as well, but they kind of like fade. They don't really just kind of turn on and off like a normal LED. I thought that was really cool about these newer Mazda models. That's a really nice turn signal. Almost, I might regret saying this, maybe almost just a little bit better than switchbacks, probably. I don't know, maybe, who knows? I honestly feel like anyone who lives up north can definitely agree with me when I make a statement like this. If you have a Mazda, or really anything that looks like this for this matter, congratulations, you are about as relevant as anyone with a Q50, a G37, a G35, a Ford Explorer, a Toyota Tacoma, or even better, a Tesla. You're everywhere, all over the place. But don't take that as a bad thing. Those are just the most common cars that you see everywhere, all the time, no matter what, anywhere. Holy crap, you had 8 different trim levels for this CX-50, at least for the 2024 model year. You had the S Select, the S Preferred, the S Premium, the S Premium Plus, the Turbo Meridian Edition, the Turbo Premium, and the Turbo Premium Plus. My estimated guess with this particular model would have to be somewhere between the S Premium and the S Premium Plus, because you do have some pretty unique, cool features like lane keep assist over here on the left side of the steering wheel. Traction control, that's pretty standard for most cars. Then you also have adaptive cruise control over here on the right side of the steering wheel. You can adjust your distances and whatnot, and obviously set your regular cruise control if you must. This is a pretty nice interior. Last time I was in a modern Mazda interior was when I used to work at a dealership as a detailer and service porter and stuff like that. I was really a big fan of the Miatas. None of my current personal vehicles have this. This is called a center console. I don't see one too often, but this one is here, of course. This is very popular. Here you go, but something cool. This thing has something really cool, just like my town car. Look at this. It flips out. Well, my town car is just one solid piece and it flips from one side to the other if you need to, but this one is split in the middle. I don't know, I guess that's just extra engineering, but either way, it's still a cool idea. But a couple things I noticed about being up here in front, you don't have a lockable glove box. I am not a fan of the electronic parking brake. I love this area right here. Something about controlling your infotainment screen from down here, you just kind of twisting your wrist and your fingers and whatnot, is really cool. You know, that's not a touch screen, but either way, even if it was, I know some cars do have both. You can either touch screen or you can use this little dial. Just nice, dude. You just drive it and you can just do this right here. It's just something about it. It's just really attractive to me. Although I don't quite understand the placement of these cup holders. What if you have a bigger cup that can't really clear this little bottom part of the dashboard? Well, it is what it is. And then also you have your gear selector right here. So you're kind of limited to what size cup or whatever beverage containing object you have right there. Nothing else seems out of the regular to me. Heated seats up front. I'm pretty sure other models do have the option for cooled seats. I'm not sure about the rear seating, but we'll figure that out in a second. A little unusual. You have your typical sun visor, but when you open the mirror, there's no light. Whereas the light's directly above your head. They decided to put it directly on the roof ceiling for some reason, but maybe that's a better placement for that light if you want to look at yourself at night or whatnot. Seats are pretty cool. You have this combination of leather and then perforated cloth. Although I don't have any jokes or phrases like I typically do when I'm in the back seat, this is still a pretty comfortable looking interior right here, especially with these USBs. 2 USB ports, and then you have climate control vents on the back of the center console, storage compartments on the back of the seats, except for the driver. For some reason, you don't have a storage little cubby little space, but you do have one on each door. And then the same situation with the seat material. Of course, you got this leather and then perforated holes right here with your cloth, but there is no heated or cooled, nothing like that. Right here with the armrest, nice sized armrest with 2 cup holders that are a little bit more convenient than the 2 in the front. I forgot to mention, passenger seat is completely manual and driver's seat is power operated, backrest and back and forth. This may be a useless seating demonstration considering I'm not the average size person, especially when it comes to weight. Oh yes, I save quite a bit of money on gas. But either way, with the seat all the way back, I still have a pretty decent amount of room until somebody sits next to you and they have to put their feet on both opposite sides of the transmission tunnel, ultimately making it even more uncomfortable than it already is back here. We're in this empty ass park right now and people are literally going out of their way just to be nosy. You hear all that? That's the car driving by right now. It's just like the second person that's interrupted the audio. Mazda's not the only manufacturer that loves to brand their brilliant automotive technology on the exterior of their vehicles. And I was always curious about what this SKYACTIV-G badge means. And it's basically just a family or group of direct injected gasoline engines designed to improve fuel economy and performance, which makes sense. I thought it had something to do with the all-wheel drive system, but the all-wheel drive badging is on the other side of the tailgate over there. All right, let's take a look at the tailgate situation. Got 2 key fobs right here, the hold button on here. Once you hear the beep, that's when you could just let the button go on the key fob and it'll rise up. Cool thing about this one is that you can actually stop it. If you press the button again, it'll stop at certain levels. Just with the key fob, you don't have to press the button. Speaking of buttons, there's the buttons up there on the top. You have a lock button right here, and pretty much essentially the same button that's on the key fob right here on the tailgate if you'd rather use that. Now, down here, of course, you have a pretty decent sized spare tire. I'm actually quite impressed. Pretty nice and clean down there. Oh, there's the jack. The jacket's way in there. You just got to pull this up just a little bit more. I was going to say, believe it or not, but unless you were born yesterday, you'd know that there are some vehicles out there that don't provide a spare tire or any type of jack, any type of roadside assistance stuff that should be standard in vehicles, should be required, mandated by the government. But there are some vehicles out there that don't come with any of that stuff. And obviously, being a pretty decent sized crossover SUV type station wagon thing, you should have enough room, right? So there you go. There's your pretty decent sized spare tire. Try this real quick, see if this works. Oh yeah, cool. Actually, when I tried that with my own arm, it didn't look like it would hurt that bad. Oh, cigarette style 12-volt outlet. I thought it was gonna be a USB-C, but it's not. And then you have some little plastic tie downs right here. Nice little LED cargo light. Of course, your rear seats do fold down. This is a crossover. That'd be a pretty useless crossover if they didn't. You have your 40-60 split. So there's your tour of one of the most common vehicles and types of vehicles on the road. I don't care who you are or what you say. The fact that I do this for fun is one thing, but I appreciate all the support, attention, and feedback these videos get anyway. But I do this in my free time. I say that, and I've been banging out 12-hour shifts this whole past year. So, if you enjoy the content, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more automotive-related videos on this channel. And that's it.